My audio seems like it's working. You want to test on your end? No, it does not seem like it's working on your end. Of course, of course.
Technical issue
Yeah.
day.
All right, there we go. It seems like we got audio on your end. Background music's low. Everything should be good. I should be live. All right. For everyone who's watching, just know we had some technical issues and I lost the chat. So if you are trying to message us and we are not responding, um, I'm not trying to offend you in any way. We just lost the chat. So I have no way of monitoring that. Um, but if you have questions, send them in Discord later on or on Facebook Messenger on Facebook and I'll check them out later. But yeah, so oh, and the wonderful thing, Alex, right after everything went live, Discord connected. Yep, I was having Discord issues too, and we ended up using Zoom, and that's why we had a little bit of issue trying to get Alex connected onto here. So wonderful, wonderful times, right?
Woo!
Uh, Part of it is because I switched from our office location where I was set up for the past like 6 weeks, so everything was working smooth, and then came back to Toronto, and I have not fully set up my workspace because I just been heads down working on things. So sorry for things not being the greatest right now. I apologize. They forgive me, right, Alex? You forgive me, right?
Oh no, I don't forgive you. If they can forgive you if they want to, but
uh, Send me some forgiveness in the chat, which I'll read later.
she won't read.
After the stream is done, I'll go back into the chat and be like, they do love me. That's so great. At the very least, I can see how many people are watching and if people are watching, so we get that at least. All right, let's jump into this. So this week we're talking about the tournament that just happened on Saturday. It was a Future League tournament. Everything. It was an interesting event. It wasn't as many as our previous Future League tournaments, but it was still a fun event. We had JC, Will, Steve, and Captain Stark come join us for the tournament. And definitely some interesting decks, definitely some interesting combos. So I know I sent Alex some questions ahead of time for today's stream. So at least I thought ahead in one regard and mitigated that. So what are we going to talk about? The first thing I had in mind, what were some of the cards from the tournament? And so you didn't get to participate, which was, I think, the first tournament you didn't participate in.
It is, yes, my first Miss tournament.
It happens to the best of us. And but you were watching on the stream. So what was something that was played that you were really excited to see played in that tournament?
Well, I want to start off with I am most excited for just Will's deck in general, because the ultimate purpose of these tournaments is to be broken decks.
Yes.
That is ultimately our goal.
Yeah.
And Will came in, he's like, I think I broke this. And that's what I actually want to hear.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear safe decks being played.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I know, like, coming into this tournament, I didn't know what to expect. And just seeing his initial run of that deck, I thought he broke it too. I was terrified that all of a sudden we would have to go to the drawing board again and redesign a bunch of stuff. So let's let's just jump into a little bit of his deck. Do you have his deck by any chance?
No, I have nothing.
Okay, so
I know the basic combo, which is pretty easy.
yeah. Let's see if I pull up Discord. Hopefully Discord doesn't just find its way onto the stream, but no, it's there. Okay, so from Will. So Will, if you're watching this, huge shout outs on that deck. Like it was just really, really great. So on the low end, yeah, you had Epiphany. So the big core of it, Epiphany, Big Thing, and then
How many of each was this? Because that's the thing. I don't know what was in the deck.
Five of each.
5 of each. Okay.
So you got the big things, you had the epiphanies, and then you had the fatigue 8 card.
Wear down.
Yeah,
Yep.
wear down, and then teleport to just kind of make life a little bit easier.
That pesky teleport. which I don't think I saw. I've only saw him use that defensively, never to
Yeah.
get. No, I think the one game where his combo actually worked, he did use the teleport. I think.
So I'll let people know if you're watching and you're on Facebook. I can actually see the chats there. So hey Darren, thanks for joining us. And because I am watching on Facebook, I actually started doing these live streams. I keep the Facebook stream alive on my phone, so I can double check that it's actually running.
I also see the Facebook and I'm posting, responding to comments.
Nice, nice. So, again, we see the core of what was like coined the Rain OTK in the tournament, going back to this Epiphany deck. Epiphany being phenomenal card, 10 aura action, draw 3 cards at the HE slot. It's essential in so many of these OTKs, so many of these combo decks. Um, Part of me wants to ask you, like, do you want to dig into why this card draw is so valuable for new players, for people who may not be into a
Sure.
lot of tactical card games? Why is a card like Epiphany? Why do so many people want this card banned?
uh, for me, the starting point with Epiphany is the fact that it's draw 3, and when you build a deck to balance out your 8 chi, you can balance it out to essentially draw all the cards you balanced out.
Yeah.
And then if you're lucky, because you should be shuffling your deck, there's good odds you're just going to draw another Epiphany and continue this cycle. So you essentially just always gain 2 additional cards of momentum.
Mm-hmm. Like, if you look at the 3 cards you're going to draw, if you're running a lot of Epiphanies, yeah, you're balancing them out with 3s. Excuse me for a second. So you're balancing them out with 3s. If your worst case draw with the Epiphany are 3 3s, like if you're playing Chaos, then that can be in your favor if you're drawing cards like whatchamacallit, Underworld Knowledge, because then that can trigger into more draw.
Yeah.
But even with an Axon, you're bouncing out with a lot of 3s, but yes, you're going to draw into some 4s, and if your 4s are dedicated studies, then you can then cycle into this more and more. But the thing is, if you design your deck appropriately, then those 3 cards you should draw are averaging out to 5 chi. So if you're drawing a 3 and a 4, you, not all the time, so I'm not saying this is how odds work, but you could draw into 3, 4, and an 8. And if your 8 is Epiphany, then it always balances itself out. You always find yourself in favor when it comes to this card. And yeah, card draw in general for games are very important because it keeps up tempo. It keeps the game in your favor. So Epiphany, great card. And then we see this comboed with Teleport. And Teleport, the whole entire point here, like action 13 aura, you place yourself anywhere on the board facing any direction. The whole idea here is when you're ready to pull off your combo, you can do it from anywhere. You don't have to cross the chasm of the entire board.
And that was one of the things I did talk to Will about his deck, and I was like, I'm surprised you charged in so many times when you did, rather than just, waiting back for a teleport.
Yeah.
To go off.
Yeah. I think it does kind of give you a little bit of momentum. But if you're running Lily, you're now 115 aura. That's 113 you're setting aside for that. You have a bit more than 100 aura. Yeah, it's definitely one of those styles that if you can't continuously pay the cost, like if you run out of aura, it'll hurt. But it doesn't hurt as badly as the Rain OTK, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
So let's talk about the win con here. Let's talk about big thing. So 8 chi, 7 health, 23 aura to beckon it. It has Earth Attack 5, and it has this Fatigue 7. So Fatigue is this new mechanic that we're testing out. Whenever a champion is dealt damage by something with Fatigue, then they must pay 7 energy, or the number that's inside the brackets. Now, when you're paying energy costs, you're always reducing it by a champion's energy reduction. So Lily would always reduce it by 2. So she gets it for Fatigue 7. She has to only pay 5 cards off the top. But Lily's ability allows her to discard a card, and if it's a summon, she gains all the abilities of that summon. So she actually gains the Earth Attack 5. She gains the Fatigue 7, which is whenever a champion's dealt damage. So now this Hontai deck combos into using cards that already have fatigue, like Wear Down, which have fatigue 8. Now you're doing fatigue 8 and fatigue 7. So for someone who has no energy reduction, this one card will mill them essentially for 15 cards. They'll send 15 cards off the top of their deck to their discard pile. That's a very intense combo.
Yeah.
A lot of working pieces, but when it goes off, oh my goodness, was it scary. Yeah, it was definitely interesting.
But at the end of the day, after like seeing the results of it, it just felt like another OTK deck.
Yeah.
With a different win con.
Yeah. It's no like the thing that I was worried about was maybe it needed a lot fewer pieces than the Rain deck. Like if it needed the Rain deck, you need enough Shadow Claws or whatever your damage output is, to go in for the kill, and drawing all those was very painful. So yeah, the Epiphanies helped. So at the same time, you had to draw. To say you're trying to kill Malik. Malik's your worst case scenario. So with a dark, you need a Dark Brand and a Serpapod to bring all your Shadow Claws up to dealing 5. Then you need 5 Shadow Claws, so that's now 7 cards. Then you have your built-in attack. That's the bare minimum you need. Assuming that they have 2 pieces of evasion, depending on how far deep into the game you are. You then need 10 cards to set up the entire combo. How many cards does this deck need?
Well, a very important part about this deck is that Wear Down's action speed.
Yeah.
Where the other OTK deck is swift, so when you do this big hit and they try to evade, you can't go for another big hit.
Yeah. The best you can do is then hit them with the Earth Attack 5 from Big Thing.
Which is pretty good, just by itself.
No, yeah. Like you're still hitting for 5, you're fatiguing for 7, that's solid. You didn't come out of this with nothing. But it is easier to evade because any evasion works.
Yeah.
You don't need a stockpile evasion here.
And if you do evade, he needs to redraw another Big Thing.
Yeah, that's true. And he's probably going to have to reset up in other ways. Like, he might need another teleport depending on how far you evade.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, this deck is... The more we talk about it, yeah, that's right. It is a little bit on the flimsy end. But when it goes off, it's so cool.
Yeah. So I think versus Steve was the only time it fully went off on the turn 1.
Oh, it went off. It did on turn 1, huh?
I believe so. I'm not 100% sure. I believe it was the only one match that actually did the full combo.
No, I saw him do it against Captain Sark. He didn't. He just did exactly the right amount to finish off Captain Sark with that deck. And he, the first round, the first time he pulled off the combo, he ended up with like, oh my goodness, it was at least like 35 cards that he milled. No, he did 2 wear downs.
I remember the 35, around 35.
Yeah, 2 wear downs, so that's 15, plus the additional 7, so it's about 37.
37, yeah.
Yeah, which was intense. And I expected Captain Sark to just like flip out on that, but no, he took it. He kept on fighting. He fought to the end, and there was moments where it almost seemed like, yeah, Will wasn't gonna win that match, and then out of nowhere, he got the last wear down and won the battle. I think it was no, he got another Big Thing. That's what it was. But yeah, that was pretty awesome. I like that. Yeah.
So then I some of the other matches, like when he faced JC, JC was running Basher, and it was just like a no contest for Basher. He came in there, tried to do his thing, and there was a stack war, I believe, in the Basher matchup.
Yes. And that's the thing I love seeing again, fighters versus fighters. Like when you see all the different combinations, the game plays so differently. But when you play fighter versus fighter, you see those crazy stacks because everyone's trying to one up because your techniques are so, you invest so much into playing your techniques. I find, I don't know why, but it feels like techniques, you invest a lot more into techniques than you do on spells and summons.
Yeah, I agree.
even though technically on summons you invest more, like they cost more than a spell or technique to do the same amount of damage. Um, and spells, yeah, you're just paying aura, which is much more of a finite resource than energy. But for some reason, people get so much more attached to their techniques.
I actually realized the Paris matchup is where Protected by
Yeah,
Faith really shown.
yeah,
Because this is a card that's like, oh, you're playing OTK? Well, let me punish you for playing OTK.
yeah.
But not really. It doesn't punish you at all. It just, I'm
No,
going to be safe.
yeah. It was very clever. It was really well played. JC did a great job at always getting. I think I saw 2 or 3 matchups where he was able to get those out on the modify stack 5. So just to explain this card, this new mechanic, a modify stack bracket number. This is a mechanic we're trying to push for future sets. And the idea is if you play this card on a certain spot in the stack, so this is the 5th spot in the stack, then this card gets modified and gets upgraded to a much higher potential. So while Protected by Faith is the 5th ability on the stack, then prevent the next 1 damage dealt to you this round becomes prevent all damage dealt to you until the end of the round. And this was a really cool card because JC always found ways to like build up the stack or do these little things and you're like, what is he doing? And then he drops this Protected by Faith on the 5th slot and you're like, oh, that was clever. That was really good. So JC, huge kudos there. Yeah, that's 2 things I think from this tournament I walked away with really, really appreciating. Will coming in and really challenging the competitive scene, the future competitive scene of Genesis, taking an old classic familiar archetype and giving it a future league twist, turning the OTK into the fatigue OTK, or as Steve called it, turn 1 fatigue. So TOF or something like that. OTF, I think it was. 1 turn fatigue. And then JC coming in and really showing the power of a simple card like Protected by Faith, making it an MVP in so many matchups. So yeah, sure. I really like those.
I know there was a bit of a debate at some point. I was listening in on New Perspectives. I don't remember who was running them. I just remember several people talking about it.
Yep. So let's explain this card. First off, it's 5G. You're paying Exert and 8 aura, and you get to take your hand. You place your thoughts into your himline and shuffle. Draw as many cards as you put in +1. So the idea is you have New Perspective in a hand of 5 cards. You play it. You're shuffling your hand back in and drawing 5 cards. It's essentially like the mulligan system in Magic, where if you on your opening hand you don't have a good hand, you get to shuffle that back in and draw 7 cards again. But this is a card that allows you to do it mid-game. What's your perspective on it?
So I have yet to see it wow or amaze me.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not sure if it's good. I'm not sure if it's one of those cards that looks better than it is. That's honestly where I'm at.
I think it's in the same realm as what you're talking there. It's in the same realm as something like Selective Amnesia.
Mm-hmm.
Where all champions with more than 5 cards in the thoughts discard down to 5. And you're like, oh, this card's going to be so good against Nubia. It's going to be so good against OTKs or the Epiphany decks. But it just doesn't see play. The fact that it does exist does threaten meta, and it threatens the mages, which we see in the amazing artwork done by Mikhail there. Where for New Perspective, I don't see what it solves when it comes to what threats does it propose, or how does it shift our perspective of meta or of the gameplay experience.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a place where I could see this really shining is potentially Draft.
For sure. Oh.
Yeah.
I just crashed.
You just crashed? Okay. Well, this is going to be fun.
Yay, spinning game again.
Well, this time I won't enlarge anything, so that when it crashes, I hopefully can actually exit. Yep, disconnect. I can actually exit this time around. Let's see if
games. Yeah, I've new tables back up.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I agree. I don't know if New Perspective is how much it solves, how much it changes our perception on the way the game plays, but it does kind of help for people who are playing casual, like don't have a whole bunch of cards to play with, or for people who are playing in drafts. Because in
Yeah.
drafts, I know there's been a lot of drafts I played where I got that angel, so I drafted it, and then every game, all I was really doing was waiting until I drew that angel. Angel hits the table, I win the game. And new perspective can really help if you have that one bomb card in your timeline.
I agree, and I think it really follows the Genesis philosophy of deck building. So your regular deck, you generally build it to be as best as possible.
Yeah,
So when you get your hand is generally good. So if you have a bunch of good cards, a
yep.
new perspective is just the bad card in your hand,
That's
and you
very
don't want
true.
to play it because you're going to lose your good cards.
Yeah, yeah.
But
That's
in draft, you're right.
yeah.
You have a lot of stuff that you didn't want to have, but you kind of
Mm-hmm.
have to have it, the filler.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, I very much agree with you.
Drafts are really interesting in Genesis. I like the what you said. Kind of rung a bell in my mind, which was when I have that conversation with people a lot when they're like, "Why isn't there a Mulligan system? Why isn't there a sideboard system?" Or now we do, but when we didn't have it, why don't we have a sideboard system? Why don't we have a Mulligan system? And I always had that idea of if you have an opening hand that you don't like, then it's on you to design your deck in such a way that you like or you are comfortable with all your opening hands. Playing a swing deck, so something like the OTK, the combo decks, where it's a lot of 8 chi cards and a lot of 3 chi cards, and you draw your opening hand with the 3 chis. As a designer, I don't think it's on my mind to try to make the game more comfortable for you because you decided to make a deck that 50% of the time you're going to have a bad opening hand. If you
Hmm.
don't like having those opening hands, play a different style of deck where you are more comfortable with your opening hands. And maybe that's ignorant. Maybe that's very rude of me to say that. But
I'll say it's a little rude, but I'll give a different perspective because I am a swing player, but I don't usually do the 8 chi. I like to play 7 3s,
okay,
and there is more than enough amazing 3
yeah,
chis out there
yeah. Like,
that you shouldn't be upset with. And I think that might
can you
be the
promote me
problem.
for a second?
What?
Can you promote me?
You want promotion?
Oh, Steve's saying hit Control Z to get rid of the. I have the floating chi thing on my. View.
Oh, I
I
have
think
hit
it's just.
Control Z.
Yeah, there we go. That's yeah. So, talking about swing, I do have one deck that I play regularly as a swing, which is my Idris Monster deck. Um, and the thing I love about this deck is, so let me kind of spread it out onto the table here. Where's the thing? Delete those because we don't actually need the champion. So, all right. So, with my Idris swing deck, I'm running a lot of 8s. I'm running a decent amount of 7s and 6s, but the focus here is on lightless. I'm running a lot of lightlesses, and because of that, I have to put on a lot of 3s and 4s. I'm running Malicious Persuasion, which is outside of when the deck doesn't work the way I expect it to do. By that I mean I don't draw lightless. Malicious Persuasion is not a great card. It's
Mhm.
useless. But when my deck draws the other end of the spectrum, what am I drawing? Well, I'm drawing left hooks, I'm drawing side swipes, and I'm drawing baboon spiders. All of a sudden, I change Idris from being the long range summoner to in your face brawler. And
Yeah.
people are totally taken aback when all of a sudden Idris comes in. I throw a left hook against you, I rampage toss you to my side, and then I side swipe you. And it feels. And then I position you in such a way that my baboon spider can hit you for 1. It feels really weird, but this way my deck is staying offensive on the low chi, offensive on the high chi, and no matter what my opening hand is, unless I draw a hand which is just Malicious Persuasions, because I run a lot of them, I am comfortable with my opening hand no matter what. And in the situation where I draw a lot of Malicious Persuasions, I play the odds. Eventually I'll draw a lightless.
That's
Um,
fair. Yeah.
so this is what I mean about the swing. If you're playing swing deck, and your threes are something that you're not comfortable having a hand of them. Like I know you're very comfortable with having a couple of pressure points, a couple of shutdowns, and then maybe like a good 4-chi summon.
Yeah.
Or even some of your 2-1s, your
I
fire
yeah,
cub.
I am definitely a 3-chi summoner,
Yeah,
not a 4-chi summoner.
yeah. Like you love Fear Cub. I'm gonna say that in honor of you and say, Fear Cub, but it's Fire Cub. Um, and that's the thing. It's finding the 3-chis you're comfortable with. Not everyone's comfortable with the same 3-chis. I would never run that many shutdowns of pressure points. I'm okay with maybe 1 or 2 of each, and that's it. But left hooks, I can run 8 left hooks and be perfectly comfortable with it.
All right, since we're pulling out decks, here's an example of my
Yeah.
Future League deck that ended up winning the first Future League tournament.
Oh, look at that swing. Right off the bat.
Look at that swing right there.
Water Warps, these are all 8-chis down here, along with the Dragon Spears. So that's already like 10, 12 8-chi cards. Then you got the Cog Restricts as well. Like, that's intense. You can see here, it's 50 cards, it's 250 points. It's legit. But no 5s in here at all, eh?
No 5s. I ain't got time for that.
You got 2 auras.
Yeah, in case of emergency, we got 2. All right, you're right. But it comes down to, what do I do if I get my hand that's full of 3-chis and all that?
Yeah.
You know what I do? I run away.
Yeah.
I build myself time to get the cards I need.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of players don't do that. If you guys did not watch this match, I don't know if we recorded this match. We need to do something with this. Did we record the final match, Sid?
I usually record the people who are fighting for first and second in the final round. So if you were in that, then yeah, we were recording that.
Because it was the crazy match where we were both on opposite sides. He had a great strategy. He's like, I'm drawing 2 cards per turn. If he wants to wait it out, I'll win. That was his logic. And I'm like, I'm gonna wait it out until I know I'm gonna kill him. Because he had lots of offensive stuff.
Yeah.
But the longer he gave me, the more defensive stuff I started to draw.
Yeah.
And I was able to clean out the extra lower stuff I didn't need.
Yes.
But all these pressure points would stop him from doing any protections.
Yeah.
All the shutdowns. And during my turns when I weren't doing anything, Underworld Knowledges to try to get back into these 8 and 7-chis.
Yeah. No, and like that's the thing that I think players are. It's a new perspective on. I keep on saying that. It's because of that part. I've said perspective so many times, more times in this conversation than I have in probably the rest of my life. But it is a different way of looking at deck building. You have to be comfortable with every card you're playing in your deck. You have to be comfortable with the worst case scenario hand. Like if you had an opening hand, which was 3 shutdowns and 2 pressure points, which is very doable. Just say 3 and 3 because you theoretically have an opening hand of 6. Then your worst case scenario is that your next 4 turns are just pressure points. But you'll wait it out. And the other side to it is if your opponent's playing fighter, then you have a lot of ways to stop them if they come into your face because you could just start pressure pointing everything they play.
Yep.
But then it's also playing the odds, right? You look at your opening hand, it's a lot of 3s. Well, your deck's averaging out to 5s, which means if you took out a lot of the 3s, your average deck is now above a 5-chi. The remaining cards are now above 5. And you will hit an 8 or 7 soon enough, right?
Mm, yeah.
This is for anyone who's not playing Nubia. If you're playing Nubia, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter anymore. Because if your deck is just 7s and 3s, and you're drawing 2 cards a turn, on average, you're drawing 1, 7, and 3 every single turn. So it just doesn't matter anymore. Forget that. Nubia is crazy. Outside of Nubia, this is what you gotta be thinking about when it comes to deck design. And I liked Will's deck because even on the low cheese, like let me talk about some of the low cheese stuff. He had 3 pressure points, 2 shutdowns, and mind reading. Then he had 8 right hooks, which were fatigue 3, which then comboed into his big thing, which gave him fatigue 10. I put that in quotes. He had leap to get himself some distance, dedicated studies to churn through the cards he didn't want, entrapments to stop other people from OTKing him, knee strikes, which is more fatigue, and tsunamis to deal with board. Like overall, this deck was well designed. It had all the different things you're trying to touch point with. I think the only thing that held him back was just practice with that deck, refining it,
Yes.
playing it a few more times, and seeing where the niche spaces were. But all things considered, it was a great deck. It was
He literally made it, yeah, like the night
Yeah.
before.
yeah.
Epiphany hit him,
Yeah.
literally. All right.
All
Uh,
the puns.
I did see not many of them, but I saw a Hot Pocket come out here or there.
Yes. Who was playing Hot Pockets? Was it Captain Stark? I think.
Captain Stark was playing Hot
Yeah.
Pockets. I guess I'm thinking about it now. Most of the HEs got played. So
Yeah?
Big Thing got played. I didn't see the Bellum one get played.
What is the Bellum one?
It's the push bolt shot push one.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Alistair was
Alistair.
played. Steve was playing Thunderbird. I don't know. I'm having trouble finding it. There, Electric Bird. There we go.
All right, let's talk about Electric Bird because I saw this come up in Discord. People have talked about it, and I kind of want to put out my 2 cents. Like the things that were coming out is this card better than Angel? So let's compare the two. So where is our Angel of Retribution? Okay, so Angel of Retribution, 25 aura, 6 holy attack, 6 health, flight aerial. This is 6 health, 23 aura, so 2 less. It has that far front awareness, so it can hit. It can't hit things right in its face, but it can hit things far away. It has a heavy attack, heavy electric attack of 6, meaning that it's slow. It's at action speed. It has the swift area attack of 4, and then it has flight and aerial as well. So first off, let's talk about affiliations because I think you and I have completely different perspectives on this, but we're gonna kind of hit a middle ground.
Okay.
I do not think that there is a huge difference between a card being single affiliated and dual affiliated.
I do think there is a difference between the two because there is essentially an extra restriction on it. Is it huge? No, but there is a restriction.
So I'll concede that there is a slight restriction. It
Yeah.
would be absurd if not absurd, but it definitely would be a different perspective on the angel. Definitely a different feel for the angel if it was just Bellum, let's say, because then let alone would the champions who can normally play it, so Nubia, Raha, and Kun, but then you also add in the fold Fong, Long, and Erica. Yes, that would change things. I agree with that. But the thing is, and I always bring things back to Magic because Magic has definitely some interesting elements. But so just to very briefly touch, in Magic, there's a huge difference between multicolored cards and single colored cards. That is very, very significant. And here, the moment the game starts, it does not matter what the affiliation is. And it barely matters what the chi is. Sometimes the chi does matter.
That's fair. That's fair.
With Deathly Return, Puppet Control, chi does matter. But everything that's on the top left side of the card, that was designed that those elements are together because the moment the game starts, you don't need to think about those things anymore. There's no card that says, kill target Bellum summon, right?
Yeah.
Not a thing. But that's not a thing as of right now. So, because those elements don't matter, the moment the game starts, it being single affiliated or dual affiliated doesn't matter. But when you go to build your deck, yes, you are limited. I cannot be Malik playing. Well, I mean, I can't be Rain playing Angel of Retribution because I share one symbol with it. But no matter which champion you're playing, you're always limited in card pool, though.
That is true.
So if you look at it from the other perspective, if you're not looking at it from which champions can play this card, but which cards can my champion play, it doesn't matter anymore. Right? Because there's all of a sudden a bunch of cards that you're going to immediately exclude. So who cares if the Angel of Retribution is excluded or not?
Yeah, that's fair.
So
I could see what you're saying there.
I do admit that from one perspective, it does definitely matter. From the other, I just don't see it mattering too much. So the difference going from a single affiliated to dual affiliated card, that's not the reason why Electric Bird costs less. So let's put that out there for anyone who's watching, anyone who's from Discord who was part of that conversation. Going from a single affiliated card to a dual affiliated card does not affect the cost of the card. However, what is affecting the cost of this card is that heavy attack.
Yeah.
So heavy attack 6 is much less cost to put onto a card than a swift attack of 6.
Yeah.
So straight off the bat, Angel, if it was in the formula, how much should it cost now with modern formula? Do you know roughly?
Off the top of my head, I do not know.
I want to say about 29.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
So,
Let's see if I have it up. I do not.
okay. Anyway, so while you're looking that up, I'll continue on with my thing. So the thing that is kind of raising the cost is that area attack 4. But for something to note is that for an HE to do area attack 4, that's significantly below Chi. HE cards are targeting for 6 damage. Doing 5 damage is okay. Doing 4 damage is pretty low. But the fact that it's area, it brings it a bit more within range. So I can see why this formula is giving 23 for the summon. I think there might be something a little off with the formula, and I'll have to go double check. But I wasn't shocked when I saw this. And
well, I can actually say that the formula has been slightly adjusted since this card was originally made.
But at the same time, like if it came out at this, knowing the formula the way I do, I'm not offended by it being at 23. Because that's the other side of it. There's so many times where I'm playing as the Angel, or playing against the Angel, and the realization that I can't kill it. If I go into a go to kill it, it'll attack me back for 6 before I can do anything. Like Lightless, for example. Lightless hitting the Angel, yeah, the Lightless prevents 1 damage. It'll survive, but it's at a critical threshold. But against the bird, it just goes and snipes the bird. Nothing it can do.
Yeah.
Losing that forward awareness is actually pretty significant when it comes to the functionality of the card. Just ask anyone who plays Paris.
Yeah.
Definitely something I'm really excited about.
I do have the Angel's cost. It would be at 29.
29, okay.
Yeah.
Which makes sense to me. So the Angel is slightly below cost, but not so much so that I would look into like doing something about this.
Yeah.
But just play as Paris. If you have doubts about this, just try playing as Paris for a little while. You realize that the way you play the game has to change. And other cards that were very, very useless to you before now become phenomenal. I do think that the bird is interesting. Does it... Now, here's my question for you, Alex. Does it create an environment where there are a lot of these bomb-like summons that you just play the summon and you win the game? And there's nothing your opponent can really do about it.
Yes and no. So I would say it does, but when I'm designing a deck, I already have in mind how does my deck face against the Angel deck, and that'd be no difference against the Bird deck if this is what would end up happening.
Mm-hmm.
I would be building my deck to be able to win even if these creatures come down on the board. And I've seen a lot of people quit when a creature comes down on the board because they're like, oh, well, I can't kill the summon. Well, you don't win the game when you kill the summon. You win the game when you kill the champion.
Yep.
What does the summon have to do with anything?
Yep. You actually brought up this point before, which is if you're playing against someone who's running Angels that are being healed and they become too big to kill, then just go after the champion. A lot of times it's a lot cheaper to just hit the champion for 20 than trying to hit an Angel for 10.
Yeah, because if you spend that 10, or it may even be if you spend the 6 to kill the Angel, you may not have the 6 to kill the champion.
Touche. So, especially if you're a champion with a decent amount of health, someone like Long, for example. Long can take a decent amount of beating before having to give up to the Angel. So, Long could turn it around. Fong, Malik, just go after the champion. Ignore this Angel and just try to take down the champion. Now, the annoying part about the Angel is the fact that you can't move through it very easily, so it can block your way. Um, but just have a strategy around that, and I think that's usually your best bet. Now, there are a lot of things coming out in Origins and in future sets that will help against Aerial, but I think if we constantly sit there and try to not make things on the same level as Angel, we stifle the design of the game a little bit. Like,
Correct.
I think the Angel's fine. It's a fun card. It's definitely very solid, and it's out there. We can't take it back.
Yeah, I have no problem fighting angels. I hate fighting angels on TARDISes.
Yeah,
That's what I hate. Stone Protector. When the angels combine and they can teleport and hit me for 6, that's when it's really scary to me personally.
Yeah.
And I heard the argument that the electrical bird can protect himself because a lot of people play with forward attack awareness. Like let's just say an Alistair is here and he step up and attack the bird. You just don't step there. You double move and you step there.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
That was a weird
is,
argument.
Paris here.
Yeah. Paris will have a hard time with the bird. That's what we can say.
Yep.
But then he'll also hit it for 3, and the following turn he'll kill it.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing. Also, the bird isn't swift. So even if you did come up into this spot and he swung at it, sure, it can do 4 to you.
Yeah.
Which is not as much as 6
Yeah.
in response.
Yeah. I still think that the Angel is the bigger threat. It is the
For sure.
strong card, and I think it's just gonna be a good iconic card. Like, I don't see the Angel. It'll make it a little bit weaker as the game goes on, but I don't think it'll ever get to the point where it becomes obsolete. Or you should always be designing your deck with in the back of your mind what happens if an Angel hits the board. What happens if 3 Angels hit the board? Like, what are your strategies for that? And I feel it's the same way as like, I don't play a lot of sports, but a few times where I did, it was definitely a thing of like, okay, like in soccer, what would I be doing in this type of situation? Like, if I am on the defense, right? Where am I setting myself up to block the ball? And you're thinking a few steps ahead, especially when you have the time to do it. And you need to be thinking it the same way in Genesis, or any game you play, really. All right, Hot Pocket.
So I know it got played. I don't know how well it did, but both you and I have played this card. It's fun. It's good. It's solid.
Yeah, yeah. It's a beast.
We know Baruch is good. There's not much we can say about it. A Baruch with more health and more damage. Yep. Love it, right?
It's so good. And they become such a scary threat, especially as you're getting close to that endgame.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness! Like, yeah, they're good. I love the Hot Pocket. All right.
We talk a lot. We're near the end of our time. I don't know how many questions we actually did.
Well, this is why it's not super important to think that we have to get through all the questions. We just need to have them in case we run out of things to talk about.
What I will say, I think there was a lot of new cards that people didn't test that I think are very powerful that's been missed out. Like, everybody likes Call the Bones. Where was Swarm? Where was Swarm being played?
Well, that's fair.
If we were looking at OTK style cards, I think Take Advantage is a new potential OTK style card. A unique draw as in reuse parts. Just some very interesting cards. And with so many like big HCs coming down, I thought for sure somebody would try the bounce card.
That's true. Yeah, there were definitely a lot of things that were missed from this tournament, but that's kind of the downside of having not too many people participate. And
that is true.
I think it's also when people go to test, they want to test the flashy stuff. And Away isn't a particularly flashy card. Take Advantage is interesting, and I could see how some people might want to play that. Swarm, I don't know. I'm surprised no one kind of ran with that. It would have been an interesting thing, especially. Well, I guess who would you run as a Swarm deck?
Ooh. I
I love her.
you probably have to run it with Bloodcraver, even though you don't get the Bloodcraver bonus.
Yeah,
You could use it with Lightning Mage also. It is because you need the aura. You need to have a big aura pool for it.
yeah. Now, a fun thing would be using the Swarm summons as sacrifice to your other summons as like health fodder with Bloodcraver.
That's true. And if you run Big Bear
Yeah.
and you have the Big Bear swap them once,
Yeah, right. If you can hit something your opponent owns plus your stockpile of bugs, and then heal the bear for 4 at swift speed, it could be pretty nifty.
I don't think it's the best strategy there, but
No.
it's an interesting strategy.
Especially since Swarm costs 30, like that's a huge resource
Yeah.
thing. So
Oh.
yeah, it's something to reevaluate. Like that's something we also need to take back to the table. Is like why weren't these cards being played? Is it that
True.
people just missed them, or is it because no one saw them as potential value adds into their timeline?
How many Phage decks did we have? Let's start there.
Well, let's see.
We had we had one Bloodcraver, one Basher.
So Captain Sark was running Blood Mage, and
That's
I'd
no.
like to say, so that's still the Blood Mage. Where's the other one? And Core.
Yeah,
looks
so
like.
no Phage there.
So JC was running
Paris and Basher, right?
Paris and Basher, yep. Steve was running Bloodcraver and
Yeah.
Basher.
Oh, Steve was both of those.
And then
Yeah, I
Lily and
definitely
Master
don't think
Summoner.
any of these aren't Basher cards.
Yeah.
None of these. Maybe Take Advantage. Would be maybe in a Basher deck, but the other 3 definitely not.
Yeah, and I think Away in the Master Summoner deck would probably have been fine.
Yeah, you can
Uh,
save your own summon if you
yep.
need to.
Yeah. But I think it was on one end, it was, yeah, there were a lot of great HEs, but there's so much going on, I think, with the bigger pool that mainboarding a card like Away is challenging because at the same time,
True.
it's 1 or less than Chrono Walker. And
That's fair.
I know that you would rather run Chrono Walker than this.
It's possible. Depends on the deck. Depends on the deck.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Chrono Walker. I just tease. So no, I think overall it was a great tournament. So the last thing I kind of wanted to touch point on, just shifting topics a little bit, was about sorry, there's my Discord. The season. So the season wrapped up with Steve taking first place. Congratulations, Steve.
Woo!
Woot woot. So how did you feel? How was it doing a season? Like, I know we didn't emphasize it too much, but was it still something that was exciting for you?
I think what was lacking is we didn't have the stakes of what was the advantage to try to push for the season.
Yeah. So
That's
what
what
would
was
you
missing.
want to see as stakes for the next season?
I think we could go back to I don't think we go as free reign as Steve-O, but your own design into Genesis.
Yeah. You want to do that for season 2?
Let's do it.
All right, so that's gonna be the prize for the person who takes first place in season 2 for the tournament. Is you'll get to work with Alex to co-design a card that will go into an upcoming set. Probably, I think Origins is getting close to being settled, right?
Yeah, so it'd probably be the following
might not be
set.
space in Origins, but it might be in the following set, or might see promo launch.
That's true.
Yeah, so here it is, officially announced. next season, starting in April, we'll have how many? We're gonna do 2 tournaments a month again.
I think so.
So standard and a future league tournament. And at the end of 6 tournaments, whoever ranks the highest will get the opportunity to put a card into Genesis. Cool.
I'm excited.
Yeah, that sounds.
I'm gonna win it. No.
I think you and I get excluded from that entire system there.
I need to get a card into Genesis. Then you don't understand.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. So I think that's everything for this week's live stream. We're ending a few minutes early, but yeah, I think that's everything I wanted to cover.
Awesome.
All right. So yeah, if you have any questions, concerns, I didn't get to read all the chats that was happening in the.
I just picked up one now. Jeffrey gave a prize suggestion. He said artwork featuring their likeness.
So I've seen a lot of games do this. I know Magic's done this in the past. And so does Universal Fighting System. And I feel like there's another game that's done something like this. And a lot of Kickstarters do it too.
So Steve, we're going to put your face on the next bunny card. It's going to be your face. Okay.
I don't know. How do you feel about prizes like those?
I don't mind them, but Genesis is sort of one of those weird. It would be better on like a, because you can't really put it on a summon too much.
Yeah, then you got to put it into a champion, and then I think.
So no, you'd put it into like pictures of people getting beat up. So it'd always be whoever won would be like the person being sucker punched and stuff like that.
Just envisioning Left Hook now with like Steve-O there, and Alex just like punching Steve-O in the face, or something like that, or like we'll have like the champion you played as, so like Raha punching Steve-O in the face from like the last championship. That would have been great. I think like a promo art version of a particular card, so taking their favorite card and then doing something where, like you're saying, like where the 2 champions fighting each other.
So it'd be the rabbit that hops and it's like jumping at Raha, but instead of Raha, it's gonna be Steve there.
yeah, so something like that, right? That would have been super awesome. So maybe we'll do that as a future thing if that's something people really like. Maybe that's what we do for these the leaderboard, the quarters, but for now we'll just. I think the idea of just designing a card and getting into the set is a good prize for the next quarter.
I think so. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everyone who watched and dealt with some of our technical difficulties. Sorry about the chat stuff, but next time we'll get it resolved and it'll be better. All right. Well, have a good night and we'll talk to you later. Bye.
Have a good one. Bye.